You're listening to the Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and Joe Dilworth is back, and we're doing this live this time. How exciting. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Are we live or are we Memorex?
No one will get that.
No, I know. See, I keep dropping these things that were a thing back in the day, and I get weird looks and silences from people.
You're dropping the joke bombs that no one gets.
It's unnerving. It's unnerving.
It's sad, really, but kids don't understand these days. It's the kids, man.
Because, like, even if we said we're capturing this live on tape, people would be like, I get those words, but I don't understand the.
Or if they said the Flickcast is not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
See, exactly.
It's not, by the way. No one wants to see this. Although maybe someday, who knows?
Well, it kind of is. I mean, I think our families can probably hear us through the walls and stuff. So maybe it is.
I hope not.
Yes, I agree.
That would be embarrassing. So, apologies for last week, folks. I mean, not apologies, but just you know, we do what we got to do. But now we're back with a full episode of a lot more goofy hijinks. I guess I don't know if that'd be goofy hijinks, but I just like the sound of that. But we got a lot of stuff to cover. So maybe we should just say find the Flickcast at Stitcher and Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts and all those places, and find the Patreon at patreon.com/TheFlickcast. And you can find Joe and I on the socials at What Joe Writes and at Chris Yu, and the Flickcast at the Flickcast. And so thanks for everyone who supports the show. We appreciate you. And thank you for listening and all that stuff. And now we need to get into the meat, as it were. Let's dive into, because we didn't talk about the finale of What If, so maybe we should just
I know. Let's get that first, because we were right.
Cool. Well, he formed... All right, spoilers if you haven't watched the finale of What If, or if you haven't watched What If at all. We're going to also get to some Foundation talk and some Why the Last Man talk, but then we're also going to dive into DC FanDome.
FanDome.
I don't have a reverb thing or an echo thing, which is or one of those air horns that goes beep 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 beep, which is good.
And I'm not that dude from Police Academy, so I can't fake it really well. So.
Yeah, well, no one is. That guy is a unique talent, as it were. So
he is inhuman.
Inhuman. Wow, that's rude. So anyway, and also we'll have picks, I guess, and whatever. So here we go. What if the Watcher formed the Multiverse Avengers?
Yes. Well, what if the Watcher broke his oath? But still, yes,
I know.
That's what he did.
That's what I call it. So
yes.
We were right, but it's not like it was that hard to figure out, right? It was. It was leading up to it. All the cool Avengers kids came back to fight Ultron, and it was I thought, a very satisfying finale, and also left the door open for further exploits, as it were. So, what'd you think of it?
I liked it a lot. I mean, I think it was pretty quickly obvious by the way the previous episodes, especially the first couple ones, kind of stayed open-ended. And I don't think they were trying to hide it. They made it very obvious as we were going on. Because as you pointed out so astutely, each episode, the Watcher became more and more tangible. So it's like, okay, so we're leading to something. And Guardians of the Multiverse is a great place to lead to. So I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. We got our first mid-credits bonus scene, which is really nice. And I know maybe it sounds odd for animation, but I thought we got some very emotional and very strong performances in this episode.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, it was really satisfying conclusion, and as you said, it left enough for us going, so what if, what next? Or maybe I said that in the wrong order. But,
what next, what if? Yeah, I like the fact that, like, for example, for Captain Carter, one of my favorite scenes in any Captain America movie is when Captain America jumps out of the helicarrier or out of the jet and lands. You know, is he wearing a parachute? That's a great scene. I love that scene. It's just so cool. It just illustrates you don't really understand that Captain America is like a superhero and almost indestructible. He just jumped out of a plane and without a parachute and landed in the water like 1,000 feet down. You know, he's like, yeah, I'm fine. No problem.
I think the best part of that sequence is Frank Grillo's kind of laughing. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. Yeah. Well, because he knows. And I think it's funny you say that, because that, in a way, I think that character Rumlow is jealous of Captain America a little bit.
Yeah,
You can sort of sense the animosity. You heard the cab, gear up. He's like, yeah. Why am I playing second fiddle to this dude? I think that sort of in some ways sets up their rivalry and makes Rumlow into Crossbones. I mean, obviously Crossbones becomes Crossbones for other reasons too, but
yeah,
I think that is right there that you can sort of feel that sort of jealousy, that sort of tension a little bit in Rumlow's character. And he has it for Captain Carter too, maybe. But it's just great that they reenacted that. Of course, she's like, did you see that giant guy up there? What is that? That's weird.
In any universe, Natasha is continuing her romantic pairings. So that was kind of nice.
Right,
it's
yeah.
like, what about so-and-so in accounting?
Yeah. Yeah, I felt bad for what's his name in accounting, though. He's like, he's never going to get a date.
Yeah.
No good time starts with Barry in accounting or something like that. She said,
right. Yeah.
poor Barry in accounting. If that was his
I
name.
know.
But yeah, Natasha's trying to because Natasha can't have a life. She wants other people to have a life, right?
Right. So she can live vicariously.
Right. That's how she lives. Yeah, exactly. It's like other people can be happy, but I have too much red on my ledger. I can't deal with this. So yeah, very very satisfying. I liked the fights. It was all great to me. I enjoyed it a lot. And, the characters did exactly kind of what you thought they were going to do. Like Killmonger was a bad guy, but that was all part of the plan, that he would sort of turn on them, but then it made the stones more accessible. It was really well done. I really enjoyed it. And I don't want to say they redeemed themselves because there was nothing really to redeem, but they pulled it together pretty well. And I wouldn't mind seeing more of this. In fact, I'd enjoy seeing more of this in another season, which I think there's going to be, obviously. And also, they're kind of been coy, I think, about whether this is canon for the MCU or not. But it definitely helps us maybe understand Multiverse of Madness a little bit more, and also Doctor Strange's strangeness.
Yes.
I always go back to that trailer with Spider-Man Far From Home. It's like, we're not Far From Home. Which is it? Homecoming. Which is the one? Homecoming. No, I don't know. Anyway, the next star.
No Way Home.
That's it. Gosh darn it.
Yes.
There's too many homes, man. No Way Home is an interesting name for a movie, though, because which home is his, right? Which multiverse is his? So speaking of that, I saw an interesting interview. Well, not interesting to me, maybe to some of you too, with Jonathan Majors. How he was talking about how he's filming Ant-Man, and he's like apparently he's the big bad guy in Ant-Man. So as Kang the Conqueror, they're calling him.
Right.
So. That would be interesting how that ties together with the larger MCU too. But so we're going to see more of Kang, obviously, and we're going to see more of Strange, and we're going to see more of Wanda Maximoff. But I wonder if we'll see any of these other characters from this.
Yeah,
multiverse.
I mean, we totally could. I mean, because like you said, No Way Home and Doctor Strange are dealing with the multiverse, and it sounds like a broken multiverse. So the Guardians of the Multiverse, at least some of them, could totally show up.
Yeah, I think it's. I said Multiverse Avengers because I kind of like that sound of that better, but it was Guardians of the Multiverse. Right. You're correct. But it's interesting, though, that he picked that because I guess you could make the case it's kind of a ragtag group, of misfits like the Guardians of the Galaxy. So, but yeah, I liked it, and I would watch more of the show. And I'm sure that have you seen there's some speculation that there was an episode missing because there's actually a scene where Tony is wearing the Hulkbuster armor.
No, that's confirmed by the writers that in a post interview they said they had planned an episode that led to Gamora and Tony teaming up, but they because oddly enough, an animated show was also still affected by COVID, and so
that's weird.
That's why it was only 9 episodes instead of 10. So they cut that, but they plan on doing it for the second season. So we will get that backstory.
Right, and it's the only sequence where Tony survives.
Right, yeah, exactly. They said they didn't even realize the fact that they just kept killing Tony Stark off. He's like the Kenny of What If. So
poor Kenny or poor Tony. But it was interesting to see that armor and to see him with Gamora. But yeah, that makes sense. So there you go. Yeah. So some of that footage does exist. I wonder. I mean, because you would imagine that animation would be something that's simpler to do during COVID. Everyone's at home; they can record, in their home studios, or they can come.
You would think,
and they could do their animation at home. It's all on computer. So hopefully some key people didn't get ill or something, and that didn't thwart plans. But yeah, I mean,
Right,
that's fine.
right.
You can save it for season 2. It's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, so we got that to look forward to. Definitely, they already started on season 2, so I'm very much excited for the next one. I think this is something that could continue for a while, which
Well,
is
yeah,
great.
you would think so, and you would think the budgets are a lot smaller, so that's good.
Yeah, apparently they had presented to Kevin Feige like a list of like 40 different things that they wanted to do, and he kind of not really picked, but suggested the ones that would be good for the first season. So they have lots of ideas that can develop into other things
The
too.
ones
So.
that would be good for the first season that would tie into the other MCU stuff. Sure, that makes
Right,
sense.
right, yeah. So
I hope they have a lot of insurance for Feige, and I hope Feige is grooming a successor because a lot of this relies on him.
maybe he's like what we're going to talk about in a little bit. Maybe he's, they've decided he's going to be like Cleon. They're going to
Right?
they're going to keep cloning him, and
Keep cloning him exactly.
there'll be a trio of Feige's at different points in their lives. That
Brother Feige will
yes,
will take over for
exactly.
everybody.
Yes.
So yeah, I would watch more. I think they wrapped it up nicely, and I'm intrigued how this will tie into the larger MCU and how whether this stuff will have any impact on it at all, or if it or if it's just like these are the clues you need for whatever. And it's got to be tough though. And we've talked about this before, but it's got to be a little bit difficult to make something that's so accessible to the fans and has a lot of fan service and Easter eggs and whatever, and ties into your larger plan, but also is in some ways standalone, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what you have to do more for movies. Like for something like this, you could make this much more in depth, much more comic centric. But for a feature, like a big movie, you have to make it accessible to people who've never seen an Avengers movie or never seen 20 other Marvel movies. Otherwise, you're just
Right.
going to get the same 10 fanboys there in the theater as everybody every time. So
Exactly.
but it's got to be hard. So this is, I think, a great way for them to explore it. And I imagine that it's like I was saying, it's economically viable because money matters, obviously.
Yes. Yes.
So if they can keep doing this and do animation and do it well, then why wouldn't they, right? So
Exactly. So there's a couple other real quick Marvel things I want to touch on before we moved away from the Marvel universe.
well, I'm sure we'll come back to the Marvel Universe at some point.
Well, I just wanted to make note that the new Hawkeye trailer, thankfully, suggests that Linda Cardellini will be a part of it. So
Yes, I saw her. I was very excited to see her.
yeah, it's like, ooh, yes, okay, cool.
Thank goodness. I wonder why that wasn't. I guess maybe they were saving that to see what happened. I don't know.
It's probably like the kids. Or maybe the kids have a bigger role than she does, and she's just there for like, okay, honey, have fun by fighting the bad guy, or oh, you made it home. And so they're like, well, we don't want to play it up too much because people spend every episode going, so where is she, right?
But I wonder if they were responding to any fan speculation, like, where's Linda Cardellini? Where's his wife? What's going on? Are they broken up? And they're like, okay, we'll put her in the next trailer, okay? Jeez, calm down.
Yeah, maybe they like, hey, Linda, we want to shoot some pickup scenes with you real quick.
Yeah, this could be like leftover footage from like Endgame or something.
Right.
Okay, so you'll be home later. Okay, bye. No, I'm sure she's in it.
Bye.
You know what? I know it's about him and about Kate Bishop, but it would be nice to see the wife come in. I shouldn't say the wife. It'd be nice to see her come in and have a bigger part of the show, but I don't think she will. Probably.
It's kind of a big part of that character now is the fact that he has this family that he never talked about, and we just found out about.
Joe, don't give him hope. What are you doing?
That's right. Sure, we'll not talk about it anymore.
Don't give him hope, man.
The other thing I wanted to mention real quick is I don't know if this is just a rumor now or if somebody's confirmed it yet, but apparently they're developing a Disney Plus series around Agatha Harkness with Catherine Hahn. So
I'll confirm that right now. I talked to Feige earlier today.
in fact, let's call him up right now and get him live on the show. Hey,
Kevin.
Hey,
Kevin.
Hey, Kev, as we call him.
Yeah, we're tight like that. No, I talked to him the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, should I do a Agatha Harkness show?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
It's like, dude, of course you should. So
it was Agatha all along who controls everything.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a rumor. I think that's actually true.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you? By the way,
Well,
if you have an amazing actress who wants to continue in this role, and there's a lot of things that she could do for sure. you would be, people love that character and people responded to it very positively. Why wouldn't you? If you can, I would at least knock it out for 8 or 10 episodes and see what happens. But that's interesting though. What happens? What does she do? Is it like Agatha backstory, or is it she like has other adventures, or does she figure somehow in the larger MCU? I don't know. We'll see.
Right. Yes, I know. So I'm excited about that because, as you said, Catherine Hahn.
Yeah.
If she says, "Hey, I really like this character. I'd like to do more with her," you'd be colossally dumb to go, "Oh no, we're good." So
Yeah, why not? I mean, yeah, exactly. Even if you did another one season thing, like WandaVision, why wouldn't you?
yeah,
Just have Agatha on and do some stuff with her. And yeah, I mean, if you can get Catherine Hahn back in your show, I would definitely do that. But I would try to get her, if it were me, I would try to lock her in for some movie stuff too, because why not?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I would bet that we'll see her in Multiverse of Madness. I just have a feeling.
I think there's going to be a lot of surprising characters show up in that, even if it's only like a cameo. But just the nature of the title is like it's got to include a bunch of different
let's
stuff.
get Sam Raimi on the phone and ask him, Sam,
because you don't title something the Multiverse of Madness and then you have like, and then you talk about it, right? It's like, oh well, out there's all these different versions of you. Really? Can I see that? Oh no, we can't. We can't show them.
Exactly. It's like if you show a gun in the beginning, someone's got to use the gun, right? At some point.
Yeah.
Chekhov's gun. You gotta do that. So I think that we'll see her. I think you're right. I think we'll see a lot of multiverse stuff. I mean, they basically did an entire show about the multiverse right now. We just watched, and the multiverse figured prominently in Loki, and it's figuring prominently in Ant-Man, I'm sure, and it's figuring prominently in, in Phase 4. Because it's gonna be Kang, and it's gonna be, maybe Wanda, maybe whatever. It's gonna just be this whole thing, and the Fantastic Four are gonna have to show up, and this whole, it's a whole new Phase 4 dynasty, as they say.
Well, you have the Watchers, so you can't not have the Fantastic Four now. Come on.
Well, you have Galactus. You can't not have the Fantastic Four either. I'm just saying.
You showed us Galactus, so.
Well, yeah, exactly. So. I was just wondering if the Silver Surfer was going to show up. I was kind of looking for that, but he didn't. So
I know that would have been cool if he was like, and I have one more person that I invited to our group.
That's right.
Surfer shows up.
He's just, sup, guys. Hey, what's up?
I did like, and apparently a lot of people hated this. I did like the Watcher kind of using modern day speak, which was pretty funny.
Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but
yes. Yeah. I'm like, well, he's been observing specifically Earth all this time, so why wouldn't he, right? So,
well, yeah, he would pick up all kinds of slang. You would think.
Yeah.
I think the Watcher is smart enough to adopt the sort of dialect of whoever he's speaking to.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's how humans from these Earths speak. They talk like that. So I'm going to say, hey, man, what's up? And I'm going to talk like them to put them more ease to my giant, balding, eye-glowing form. I don't want you to be...
Right, exactly.
Don't freak out, dude, but I'm a giant celestial being, or whatever. So
and ultimately it was funny. So,
And ultimately it was funny. I'm sure there was a discussion about that, and I'm sure that Jeffrey Wright probably said, no, man, this is what's going to happen. They're like, sure, Jeffrey, whatever you say. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
You know best.
Yes.
So we hired you for a reason, not because you're a talentless hack, but because you're a genius. So we're going to listen to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I just hope I haven't seen No Time to Die, and I don't know if you have, but I haven't. I just hope that he has. I hope he has a lot to do in that movie because I thought his Felix Leiter was excellent. So.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed that after showing up in Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, that he just kind of didn't show up in the next two because. I have always liked the character of Felix Leiter in the Bond movies, and I'm like, dude, you have Jeffrey Wright playing him. Why would you not? I mean, one of those should have been like a complete team up with them, right?
Well, it's a James Bond movie. You can't have somebody as cool as Bond. He has to have these, the women, and he has to have, they're slightly less capable than he is, and then you have to have the supervillain who's seemingly insurmountable. So, but yeah, I would totally.
I'm not saying that Daniel Craig isn't suave and easy on the eyes and pretty amazing, but Jeffrey Wright outcools him. That's all I'm saying. So They
Yeah.
should have at least done a lighter movie or something. That would have been awesome.
Well, maybe they still can.
They don't really do spin-offs,
Why
though, in the
can't they?
Bond films. They don't, though. They just don't do
But
them.
they can. They still
I
can.
know. They could.
It's not impossible. So I think that I would get I would bet money that part of the problem is that some people responded negatively to Felix Leiter being African American.
Probably.
You know, there was some backlash, just like there'll be backlash with a female Bond of color. If that happens,
Right.
so, or whatever whatever. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. I wish I had, but I'm not going to a theater. So
Same here. Yes.
and I don't. And it's the funny thing is now when I see people advertise things only in theaters, it kind of makes me mad. And that's weird, isn't it? It's
Yes.
just like, why? Why are you being such assholes about it? I understand
I'm the
that people
same here.
need to make
and
money. I get that, but it's like that's like taunting people. Only in theaters, fuckers. So
and here's the thing: I was totally
you
ready
were.
for it, and we got slightly curtailed because of a bad cold going through the house that affected our unvaccinated youngest son very severely. And I was like, you know what? Even though that wasn't COVID, and I'm actually pretty sure where we picked up the cold from, because we went to a restaurant against our better judgment because we were hungry, and ones we wanted to go to that are responsible were closed. So we went to this one, and it was just packed, and there were people getting up and walking around, not wearing masks, and even the wait staff had their masks pulled down below their nose and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, you know what? Him getting sick and possibly it was a good wake up call scare, I guess you would say. This cold that we had, and
That's the best kind, the one that doesn't have any
yep,
consequences afterwards.
not even going to risk it. And you're right when they're like only in theaters. I'm like, that's you fuckers. That's so irresponsible. Sorry.
It is. We can
So
say fuckers. And I don't know. I understand that companies need to make money. I understand that you want
yes,
your movie to be presented in the best possible way. And look, I made films. I understand. If I'm a director, I want my movie to be on a big screen because that's the way it was intended. And so that's great. And so you can do both. I still think
yes,
that you can do both and you should do both. And yes, maybe you're not going to make quite as much money, but you also won't kill anybody. So,
right. I especially kind of cringe with the latest Bond advertising is see it on the biggest screen you can. I'm like, yeah, I'd love to. The biggest screen I can is in my living room, but you're
70 inches, baby.
yeah, you're being assholes. So
Yeah, anyway.
so I'm not going to see your movie until yeah. I mean, I'm glad that Dune is coming out later this week on both.
Yes. That's
You know,
exciting.
and I'm bummed that the Marvel movies are not doing the same. So it'll be a while. I mean, I still haven't seen Shang-Chi, and it'll be a while. Same thing with Eternals when it comes out. Yeah, it'll be a while. So
Yeah.
well, I'm okay with that.
They learned their lesson from getting sued by Scarlett Johansson. They're not going to do
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
She showed them or
Yep.
whatever.
So anyway, that's our rant for the episode.
Hey,
but
you know what?
I'm not going to theater. I'll tell you this too. We even found ways that this is probably too reactionary, and I'm almost as bad as the other side. But we were like, okay, so there is Instacart. We can do our grocery shopping through there, even at Costco that we go to once a month to get stuff, and we can have other things brought to us this way. We can practically never really need to leave the house, and I'm okay with that. So
Yeah, I like to leave the house occasionally, but I don't need to go to a store.
no, I can go for a walk, and that's just fine.
I went and did pick up outside curbside yesterday, so that's fine.
Yeah.
So, and this is our first and only rant for this episode, I'm sure. So
Yes.
or
All right.
a tangent. I'm saying we do have a lot to talk about. So
We do. We'll get to it.
it's not that this isn't important. It is, but I started it by saying it doesn't make me angry. It's just sort of I get miffed, like because I love movies, and it makes me mad that I think it's more that I can't go or I it's not safe to go yet. If I was single and I'd been vaccinated, I'd go, no problem. But it's mostly people who have kids at home that's the problem. So or not
Exactly.
the problem,
Exactly.
that are the real victims here, Joe.
Yes.
Anyway, so that was What If. Foundation is still a great show. I mean, it's even getting better, and there's absolutely nothing. Usually there's something, and I go, oh, come on. But I saw an interview with David S. Goyer, and he was talking about how they were filming the show during COVID, which I guess makes sense. It's like, because there's a couple of times in the episodes, the last couple of episodes, where there's like a bad force of people, right? Like there's a group of
Right.
people that are going to attack the settlement. And it's like, there's not that many extras. He's like, yeah, we originally were going to have like 500 extras and blah, 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 but we can only get like 40.
Right.
So
Exactly.
because of COVID, I'm like, well, that makes sense. Which is why you have a show like this, which does seem large in scope because of some of it, but some of it seems very intimate because there's not that many people in it, you know?
Right. Right.
Because you just can't have that many people right now. And I wonder how different it would be if COVID wasn't around. I wonder if it would just seem more full. Because even in like the crowd scenes, there's still not that many people, you know, like on the
Well, the
bridge.
settlement too. It's like there doesn't seem to be a lot of people until they can insert them digitally from a distance, right?
Right. Well, I'm sure, but you, as a student of filmmaking as we are, I know there was sequences in this last episode, especially where like, oh, they've cut to the same people running, but it's a different
Right.
angle. It's like
Right. Exactly.
it's the reverse of that. Wow, that's interesting. It's clever editing because you've got the same 40 people running, so you can't do much about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but yeah, you would think with CG they could change, but then that's more of a budget thing, having to do visuals for all that stuff. But you know, it seems like this show has a pretty big budget. I don't know, but anyway, I'm loving Foundation.
Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite shows that have come out in the last few years, even. And I love sci-fi, obviously, and it's building to something super interesting. I mean, yeah, some of it's kind of telegraphed, but I like the fact that they seem to have established their sort of 3 timelines at this point, and so it's not going to be as complicated to follow what's going on, because they had a couple of episodes to set that up, and now it's like, oh, okay, so here we're going to be here, we're going to be with Gale, and we're going to be back on the main planet, but then they're all coming to the settlement, which I can't remember the name of it. What is the name of the settlement?
Terminus.
Terminus. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Which is an interesting name for something that's supposed to be like for the future. It's Terminus. Anyway.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, it's the farthest outpost from in the Empire. So
sure, that makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. And there was some clever bits where, you know, the Huntress was like subversive and doing some stuff, and you know, I liked it a lot. I'm enjoying the show a lot, and I've been talking about it for like 5 minutes. So what do you think, Joe?
no, I like it a lot too, and I'm enjoying it more and more every episode. I think there was a lot of I had some confusion with the first 2 episodes because not only the time jumps weren't so bad because I mean they told us on screen 35 years later and stuff like that, but I was just kind of like it seems like we're rushing through the story because any one of the timelines that they've shown us could have been like a whole season of story, right? And instead, they rush through a bunch of stuff in the first couple episodes, and they're like, okay, now we can tell our story. And they've kind of, time-wise, they've synced up the 3 different main plot points, which is interesting. And as it turns out, though, I'm still really enjoying this. And now we're actually getting to the parts where I'm like, well, I want to see this. And if it was any other show, it would be like, God, we spent 2 seasons on this. When are we going to get to the point, right? And they're like, no, we're going to go there right now. So, yeah, no, it's really, really good. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
I love all the actors they have in the key roles are just phenomenal. And the story is intriguing. And I would say the opposite end of that is they're also not spoon feeding us the plot by going, okay, so this episode is where this happens. Pay attention, and things like that. So it's quite good, and
No,
we do get backstory on them, like Gale and stuff like that. So that's kind of fun.
I feel like there's a reason that the spoilers if you haven't watched these episodes, but I feel like there's a reason why the ship is heading towards Harry's homeworld.
Yes.
Are we going to meet Harry's twin brother? I don't know, or something like that. I don't know.
I don't think he's dead though, because that little hologram or whatever it was that she saw.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I kind of half expect him to be somewhere else on that ship, or his casket shows up because they specifically pointed out a casket of his own design. He insisted on this, so he's either in some suspended animation or it's healing him while, over the years or something. So again, you don't hire Jared Harris in a main role and then. Yeah, he's gone after 2 episodes, right? So
exactly, yeah. And I enjoyed seeing the sort of Gale backstory a little bit more. back on her home world. But like you said about well, we were going to talk about why, but you said this when we were talking in the pre-show. They're making it. They're definitely touching on sort of current topics like, oh, we don't believe in science, et cetera, et cetera. So
Yes.
we're gonna instead of burning heretics or whatever, we're gonna drown them
Yes.
instead with stones attached to their bodies. But it's like we don't believe in math. We don't believe in science. We've done our own research and
Yes, we
and spoke
have.
and spoke to the gods, and they said that everything's going to be peachy. Don't
Yep.
worry, everything's fine. It's all part of their plan. But no, it isn't. Unfortunately, it's you can't argue with math, and
Nope.
the seas will rise and chaos will
Will
reign,
ensue.
will
Yes.
ensue. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the next episode where Brother Day shows up at Terminus and goes, "So what's up, everybody? What are you guys?
Ha-
What are you guys doing? It's not cool."
Brother Day, yeah, he shows up at Terminus and he walks around into like all the women. He's like, "How you doing?"
How you
Because
doing?
his little dalliance with the flower girl, I'm like, that was like a little but I like the way they played it, and so but that's one of those things. I'm like, where are they going to go with this? Where is this going? So
Well, Lee Pace is just great. I don't, he could just do almost anything, and I would be interested in watching it. But yeah, the only time in this last episode where I was like, oh, the, the guy's like, prepare for landing. I'm like, no, you're not going to land.
yeah, no, that's not going to happen.
That's not. I like your idea, sir, but you're not going to make it to the
Yeah,
surface. I'm afraid.
because we know there's a big honking gun pointed at you. So
The guys
yeah,
don't even bother. So
you
what's
should just
the?
leave now.
You should leave now. Can't you just beam down? I don't know.
Right, right.
What was their plan though? They were supposed to investigate what was going on because they hadn't heard anything. But
Yeah,
it's like they sent one ship of like super soldiers and they all got blown up. So I don't know.
yeah, yeah. That was like, well, I guess Brother Day didn't want to send anyone, and it was Brother Dust that was like, he was like,
Right.
well, you deal with
That's
it, and
right.
he's like, oh, let's send someone to check.
Yeah,
So
that's
they're
true.
not taking it seriously, but I think they will now.
Well, right, because there's I mean, for better or worse, if you look at the Apple TV interface, there's a picture of the next episode, and Brother Day is clearly on Terminus. So
Oh, I see. Okay, I
something,
did.
something, spoiler, something.
I do like. So in the first couple episodes, they show us a fairly harmonious empire in the past before the Star Bridge gets blown up. Although there are cracks starting to show, but now we see a quite fractured one in the current 35 years later or whatever. But they're not quite as in sync as we were shown previously, which is kind of interesting. So,
Well, it's funny if you think about that. Yeah, that's absolutely true. But do you think? I wonder if Harry's sort of predictions are based on his own involvement in things. Like, is he the catalyst for this stuff to
right,
start? Because he says, "Well, the empire is going to fall, and you can't do anything about it. I've done the math." And they're like, "Oh shit! Well, that brings up all the divisions that were already there." But it's like, well, if shit's going to go south anyway, why are we holding on to this? And I mean, and also as you pointed out, and as it was sort of obvious in a couple of episodes ago, where there's something wrong with the kid, right? I mean,
yeah,
that kid has a problem. He tried to kill himself, so obviously he's got a
yeah,
problem,
exactly,
which was cool. But it's like that you can't keep cloning people and expect the same results. There's going to be evolution over time, even with cloning, maybe,
right.
and and uh, and they've been trying to. She's been trying to sort of teach them not to be as bad, I suppose, and teach them to be more benevolent. And I mean, who knows what's happening? I kind of feel like. I still feel like time travel is going to figure in this somehow. I don't know why, but
I just find,
I don't
yeah,
know.
you bring up an interesting point because the android that's working for him,
Yeah,
I do now think that she's like playing the long game, trying to slowly, subtly change them because she's the only one that can be around them as babies. So who knows if she's doing anything to genetically influence that? And then she's like seems to be like the guardian and caretaker of Brother Don when until he gets to be a certain age. And so what is she kind of? I mean, she blatantly says, "Oh yeah, your kind killed my kind" and stuff like that. So yeah, it's very intriguing. I at first I thought, well, this is good, and I'll watch it, but they're bringing up more and more questions, and each of the storylines are becoming more and more interesting as we go, which is what you want with a show. But yeah, I'm quite liking it.
Well, in the books, the android is basically figures into the whole situation. I mean, she's there, or he
Yes,
in the book is there because there's no female characters in the book. I don't think even at all,
not really.
except like slave girls and shit. Thanks,
Yeah,
Isaac Asimov. But it's like she figures prominently in the entire, or he. I keep saying she because figures prominently in the entire series because, like you said, they can live forever. And the fact that she's one survivor. I mean, I wonder if her agenda is you killed all of my kind, so now I'm going to manipulate all of this or do my best to make sure you guys all destroy yourselves. So it's the long game of android revenge or something.
yeah, maybe because yeah, she is long lived, and you're right. It brings up the question of is what is really the catalyst for the end of the empire? Is it the android working secretly behind the scenes? Is it something else we haven't seen yet, or is it just even Harry talking about? I mean, it's like is I don't understand the math and I didn't understand the graphics. And I know, Gail has confirmed a lot of stuff, but what if it's just merely like the suggestion of this is causing the downfall and causing people to behave in a way that's erratic and not more forceful than they would, like the Empire. So it's like, yeah, is the fall predestined, or is the fall because we're talking about the fall? It's kind of, I don't know, it's intriguing in a way. And I do like we have a show that is, the main catalyst for the story is math. That's pretty cool.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, again, I don't want to bring up the book too much because it's not exactly the same thing. But in the book, the android definitely has a lot to do with it. In fact, in the book, Harry and the android are acquainted, and he helps Harry come up with psychohistory in the first place. So
Oh, I see. Okay.
so he definitely has more to do with it. But I don't remember if it's because of some sort of thing where we have to destroy humanity. But I feel like in this sense that she's definitely trying to manipulate the humans, like you said, and trying to, either bring about the fall of the empire or make a more benevolent something can rise from the ashes, and she'll be around to see it because she lives forever in theory.
Right, right.
I mean, you don't know. I mean, I don't know the technology of androids they're doing in this show, but it's like I would imagine it's like some sort of combination of mechanics and bio. There's got to be some sort of organic material in there somewhere, which may wear out or whatever. We don't know, but
That's what it kind of looked like when she was repairing herself. That it was like growing and things like that. So
anyway, it's an interesting premise, and if they do get 8 seasons or whatever, then they can explore all this stuff. I mean, you could tell a lot of story in 8 seasons. That's what 80 episodes. So
yeah, exactly. So
which is actually not a lot if you think about it, because like I always think about like the first Star Trek series that was 79 episodes
over 3 seasons,
over 3 years. So that's not a
Yeah.
lot. But so this is going to be 80 episodes or whatever. But yeah, I'm digging it as a fan of a big fan of sci-fi, and I always say hard sci-fi because this has got math in it, so it's hard sci-fi.
Well, yeah,
And the ships, anytime in a show or a movie where the ships have to turn around to decelerate,
yeah.
that's a hard sci-fi show, like in oh shit,
Expanse.
Expanse. Thank you. In that show, so that's a definitely. Although in this one they have like jump technology, so it's not exactly the same.
But some ships do, but some of them
Right.
have to decelerate the old-fashioned way. So
right, exactly. So
but yeah, no, I love that on the Expanse. It's like, why is that ship going backwards? Oh, yeah, that's why.
well, in fact, in this last episode of Foundation, they did that because the
Yep.
ship that she's on had to flip around to decelerate to go to the planet they're going to. So they're
Yes.
doing it.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. I don't know why that's a thing for me, but it just is. It's like
I really liked
that to me means it's a real sci-fi show, I guess.
the other thing too. I really liked is the old trope of, well, you're locked out of knowing information and being able to command the ship to do things. And most they would be just like, oh, damn it. And Gail is like, well, I'm going to figure out a workaround to that. I thought that was really, really smart. Although her whole, well, I'm going to go outside the ship thing seemed unwise. But But her getting the information she needed by using math, but also by asking side questions to the computer that were not directly related to where they were going was really cool, I thought.
Well, yeah, I mean, she knows that the machine can only do what it's programmed to do, right? It's not like super
Right.
intelligent. It's a computer, but it's not omniscient,
Right.
and so she can use her human intuition and her knowledge of math, and obviously she's some sort of savant when it comes to mathematics, anyway.
Right.
But
Right.
also apparently has some maybe some psychic ability or something. Who knows?
Possibly. Yeah.
So she can outsmart the computer. But yeah, I mean, I like the fact that she went outside to see, looking at
Yeah.
the black star. It's like, oh, I don't want to go to that planet. That's terrible. I don't want to go to the planet where people think I killed Harry. And then, oh,
Right.
wait a second, is he still alive? What's happening? So
Right.
that was a good cliffhanger. I thought. I don't know. I'm just like I said. I'm just enjoying it, and I'm in for the ride. And wherever it takes me, I'll follow. Unfortunately, I can't say the same of Why the Last Man though, which we probably should get to.
Yeah, I've kind of reversed because for a few episodes I was like, yeah, all the stuff with Diane Lane is far more interesting because better actor, just better and interesting story, and all the stuff with York is relying on the wah 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 kind of craziness and stuff. And now I'm kind of going back the other way, but at the same time, it's still just I don't know. It's not. I'll be honest because we had a break, I did not watch the most recent two episodes until yesterday. And it's not like I'm like, ooh, a new Why the Last Man episode. I got to watch this. I'm just like, oh, okay. So,
Yeah, it's not must see TV for me either. I do
no.
watch it. I do watch it because we're talking about it, and I still, like we talked about, I'm giving it the season to see where it goes. But the last episode that just aired, I thought was my favorite so far. I mean, I didn't mind the pilot so much, and this was pretty good because Yorick didn't do as much, and he was more willing to be, smart about things. And there was some interesting characters, and there was some interesting development with 355. But yeah, the stuff back at the Pentagon is sort of starting to annoy me a tiny bit
Yeah.
because Diane Lane's character seems very indecisive and not super presidential. But that's who knows. And the whole stuff about Yorick's girlfriend showing up, and that's totally like, oh well, she's a spy. Duh, she's going to be a bad person.
Right.
Because why would she show up? Why would they bring her back now? And have her
Yes.
just, oh, I got to go. I can't really stay in this perfectly safe place where I,
Yes, exactly. And you're feeding me, but I'm going to go back
and I
to.
haven't had a shower, but I'm going to go live in the dirt outside. So that doesn't make
Right.
sense.
I was just like, of course she's a bad
Yeah,
guy. And
of
they're
course
like,
they're gathering intel for a coup or something.
they're comfy in there, but it can be brought down. I'm like, oh, God.
Stupid.
So, yeah.
Okay, but nothing. I got to be honest. Nothing about the show has infuriated me more than the episode before this, when they're in the church and they're like, "Oh, let's fuck off and leave 355." A, stupid.
Yeah.
B, while they're running, she fucking trips.
Yes.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. Just like, okay.
What?
Uh,
Is this like bad filmmaking 101? What is this person doing? Why does someone have to trip? How many times have you seen that in a show where the woman falls down when she's trying to escape?
right.
It's like,
Yeah.
what? Come on. And then it's like, come on, guys. And then I don't know what it is. It just seems like lazy filmmaking to me. It's like there's too many contrivances. Like in this last episode where we need to get a reason that they can't escape. I know, flashbacks. So she can be
Yeah.
flashing back to her parents' car accident, and then that'll drive her off the road into a tree. It's like, come on.
She suddenly sleepwalks. So you think someone would have noticed her blacking out to flashbacks and sleepwalking when she was at the Pentagon, right?
Or
I mean,
when she was training to be a spy from the corporate
right.
wing. Someone would have
Right.
noticed that in the dorms,
Yeah.
when they were
So I'm
training her to
just
be in
like,
this super secret organization. The only thing I can think of is that trauma of some kind has caused this, because she did get a concussion before and she's gone through a lot. I mean, I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe there's a reason for it. I try to give shows the benefit of the doubt because I like some of the characters. I like her a lot, and I like Dr. Mann a lot. I think she's really good in this show, and Missy Pyle, of course.
Yes.
But that whole thing, it's like, I guess it's all And you pointed this out too when we were talking about this before we started recording. It's hard to do a show like this without thinking about Walking Dead.
Right.
It's just The Walking Dead is so out in the world now. It's like you're driving down a deserted road. You expect zombies to come out of the trees. It's hard to not see that. And so, and then you come, they're in a camper, and then they go to a prison, and it's like, think of something else. I guess it's hard to make any show, and I respect people who've been able to make a show. But you have a comic, that was pretty well written, I thought, and had some pretty good story elements. You could try sticking to some of those more.
I think, and the comic, I thought, and again, my reread stopped after 3 issues. I just haven't gotten back to it. But I seem to remember that the comic did not rely as heavily on the whole dystopia kind of thing that is common in Walking Dead and that the TV show is going for. I mean, yeah, there were things that were broken down, but it seemed like, and they did encounter some bad characters, but it seemed a lot more, I guess, less black and gray, because that's the color palette for the show now. And it seemed to be more, the comic was more colorful. There was more, it wasn't all just like, oh, well, this is all going to be dystopia and we're all going to be, grumpy and depressed the whole time. There was more diversity than that, if I can use that word.
Yeah.
So
maybe I'm just. This is probably not going to be a popular opinion, but I feel like they spent a lot of time trying to educate people.
Yes,
and less time concentrating on making a good story.
I think.
Do you know what I mean? It's like It's like we're gonna have these characters, and you should absolutely, representation matters. I say that with 100% conviction, but that can't be the only thing you have going for you. There has to be a compelling story. There has to be compelling characters that are relatable, and there has to be not so many contrivances for the sake of the stuff you like. It's like, here's the things we like in our show that we're going to highlight, and then we have to do the rest of this stuff so we can get that out there for people to see. That's what it feels like to me.
It's too bonk on the head, because
Maybe.
Foundation touches on some of the things that are going on in the world, but without making that a focus. So here's what bugged me about the whole thing with the Missy Pyle's character group and stuff is, and I'm gonna tread lightly here because I trauma is real, and absolutely, if you have a community that allows you to be open and discuss those things, and the trauma you've been through, that is powerful and that is amazing and that's awesome. And I'm not saying that shouldn't exist, but to me, it seemed like, all right, so in fact, I don't know how far along, how many months or whatever is this supposed to be now since all of this happened?
6 months, maybe at the most.
But it seems like, so you're still talking about how horrible men are and how much they've ruined your lives, but they're gone. Shouldn't that be part of like, hey, and let's celebrate the fact, listen, we don't need to be in fear anymore or repressed with how we feel about this. We can be celebratory about it because the thing that is been causing us this pain is gone, like on a cosmic scale at this point. So it seemed to me that and I know they had the rebirth ceremony, but it seemed like it's like, God, why are you still pissed off? Right? And again, I'm not saying that it's like, it seems like all those discussions they had would have been done by now, and they would have been like, ooh, I can let that go now because the men are gone. So I don't know if I'm being too insensitive there, and I'm trying not to be, and I don't mean to be at all, but I don't understand why they are still predicating their things on anger and hate. It seems like, right? It should be like, hey, we're together now. This is gone. Let's build something better. Maybe that's what bugs me about all the places they're encountering. It's like, let's come together and build something better now. Come on. I don't know.
Well,
Anyway.
I think they're trying to do that. I think Diane Lane is trying to do that
Yeah.
a little bit, and I think that's the agenda. But it's just, you can't ignore basic necessities at this point. You got to survive first if you're going to rebuild stuff.
Right.
So leaving your base camp at some Costco is probably a really smart way to go.
Yeah.
So I would bet that those characters are gonna be the ones that survive the most. Because I don't know that the White House or I don't know. I feel like the Pentagon's going to get overrun. Maybe that'll be the finale because there'll be a capital insurrection at the end of this season.
Yes, exactly.
Maybe because that's what they're building to. Oh, that'll be the cliffhanger or something. They'll be like they'll be all in the situation room with guns, and people will be facing. It'll be like a standoff in the. I was going to say Mexican standoff. I don't think you can say that anymore, so I won't do that. But
I guess the conversation between Missy Pyle and what's her name, I would have liked to have been. And again, I don't know. Probably haven't experienced. Well, I know I haven't experienced to the extent that they talked about the trauma and the horrific things that those characters have gone through. But I don't know. It would have been, to me, a more enlightening thing and less of a trope if that family that showed up, they welcomed them in, and then Missy Pyle had a conversation later with, like, hey, when this started out, we were all really angry, and we were still trying to bring down the patriarchy, but it doesn't exist anymore, and now's our time to build something better and more. I don't know. It seems just because it's exactly like walking. I mean, I expect Rick Grimes to show up at any moment, or a zombie or two, because it's like you're not saying anything different. You're saying the same thing that now there's a whole franchise built on a show that's saying the exact same thing. You're saying that, oh well, in any kind of Armageddon or dystopia, everyone's going to be horrible to each other, and things are going to be like the back before electricity and stuff like that. And I'm like, why not do something different and go in I don't know. It just seems too tropish.
Maybe they plan on doing something different. Maybe. It's always darkest before the dawn or something.
I guess.
Shit falls apart. People deal with it and they try to rebuild, but it takes time to rebuild. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like in every interview with the people in charge of the show, they've basically been talking about their agenda for representation more than anything else. And again, representation is important. I think it is important. And so many shows don't do that. And so many, for years and years and years, there's never been anything like that. And so the fact that that's happening in a show is great. And maybe they feel like they got to cram as much stuff in while they can, because that's kind of what it seems like in some ways. But because how long will this show last? We don't know. Hulu sometimes cancels shit after the first season. Who knows?
Right.
But it's just not good storytelling, because you also got to make a good show too while you're trying to educate people, so people will stick around. You can't just rely on the most base, sort of cliched stuff and expect people to keep coming back. It's like you said, you can't keep hitting people over the head because they're like, I don't necessarily want to be lectured all the time. What I'd like to be is entertained, but also informed at the same time.
Yeah, so. I just think there are better and different ways you can do it than showing the darkest denominator. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at, is that and it does seem, like you said, that the main focus on, well, let's really drive this point home and have this conversation every single episode for the whole season. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but again, it should be, let's not do it cliched, because to me that takes something away from it and makes it be like, oh, so you really are just doing this for ratings, right? Instead of, hey, we've come up with a new way to tell this, and it's going to be part of our story, and it's really going to be different than what's come before, instead of, well, let's just do the same old thing. I don't know. It just
here's my prediction for Why the Last Man. If it gets another season, I don't think Eliza Clark will be in charge of the show after this season.
No, I think you're probably right.
I think they'll replace her as showrunner, because I think that, and I don't know how well it's doing in the ratings. I don't really keep track of that as much as I used to. And maybe it's doing great, and maybe people are responding to this in a positive way. I don't know. The thing that I've noticed is I don't see a lot of people talking about the show.
No.
And usually if there's something that's that's getting into people's minds, and they're talking about it. It's online. People are talking about it on Twitter. People are talking about this. People are talking about that. I don't really see a lot of that discussion, and maybe I'm just missing it. But it's definitely not as prevalent as you would think it was, with all the hype surrounding this show over the years. People trying to get this show made, etc. And maybe, and the other thing, maybe people don't. I don't know. Maybe people don't want to see this kind of thing right now. Maybe it's not as popular. If it isn't as popular, I don't know about the ratings, but maybe they don't want to see something dark and depressing as much as as they want to see something. Which is why, like, Ted Lasso is doing so well, as an example.
There's the plug for Ted Lasso.
I'm just saying, man. People might not be responding to it as well because it's just depressing, and they don't want to. People are watching The Walking Dead, I think, just out of habit now. It's like, well, what's going to happen this season? Oh, fuck. It's almost winding down. We got to finish watching it and see what happens. But
and people are probably watching this and going, where are the zombies? Well, I'm going to go back and watching Walking Dead. I mean,
damn it. I can watch Fear the Walking Dead, or Walking Dead Origins, or Walking Dead
Brave New World, or whatever the hell it is.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? I don't blame them. They've got this great thing going, and how do they keep cranking this thing and making more cash out of it? They're not stupid. I have nothing against it. It's as long as the show is interesting and the story's well told, I don't care if it's a cash grab. But if it's just like blatant bullshit to make money, then I'm not going to watch it. And I think a lot of other people would feel the same way. So I don't know that that's the case with Why the Last Man, but I feel like it's more what I said before. It's like we need to get our agenda out there. That's our number one priority, and then also we're making a show. That's the way it seems to me, anyway. So
it seems like the story takes secondary, which is why you have you're making really dumb decisions that make no sense, and 355 being smart sometimes and then oblivious other times that don't make any sense. So it's kind of like, oh, by the way, we're still telling the story. We got to get these characters from point A to point B. Oh, yeah, okay, well, let's just have them do this, like in that show where that guy did that. Oh, yeah, that'll be great. That'll be fine. That's what it seems like to me. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, let's get back to the agenda. And you know what? That's totally within their rights. And I think it is definitely high time we've had these conversations and had these things blasted out. But don't make it at the expense of your story, unless if that's what you want your show to be about, then don't have this other part of the show, I guess.
Well, maybe that is what they want the show to be about. Maybe it
could be.
They would consider it a success if they get their message out, and and that's fine. And if Hulu's happy with the show and they get more seasons, then good for them. But you and I both know it's hard as hell to get any show made, and to keep it on the air, and to make television is difficult. It's extremely difficult, and so sometimes you're just like, well, fuck, how do we get from A to B? Oh, okay, well, flashback.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And or this person trips. How do we build tension? Well, she falls down, because we've seen that in 400 other shows. And it's always the woman who falls down.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, sure.
It's like, so you're not quite as enlightened as you want us to believe.
And I don't who knows, man? Who knows where that kind of thing comes from? And maybe it's just me. I've just seen too many things, man. I've seen some shit. So anyway, I don't hate the show. It's not, like you said, it's not like I have to watch the next episode. I'm not, as opposed to something like Foundation, where I'm like, is it Friday? I want to watch the show. And so,
yeah, I mean, Why the Last Man kind of started out shaky for me, and it's not improving like I would expect a show like that to do. So I'm going to stick through there's only like 3 or 4 episodes left in the season, so I'm going to stick through the rest of the season. But I don't know at this point if it stays as it is. I don't know if I'll actually continue with it if it gets renewed. So,
yeah, exactly. So, well, there you go. Not a ringing endorsement for Why the Last Man. So,
and I'm kind of disappointed by that, because I really like the comic. But
well, now it just means no other comic shows can ever get made.
No, we're going to cancel them all, and Star Wars is going to get canceled, and
we're canceling Christmas because of the Postal Service. Oh wait, I'm not going to get into that.
No. Let's not.
God, no. Let's not go that route. So, DC FanDome.
Yes, we got some cool DC stuff.
Yeah, well, cool. No, I'm kidding.
Speaking of the multiverse, we got a nice clip from the
Ano-
Flash movie.
Another freaking multiverse, yeah. So if people don't know, DC FanDome is a DC event where they do. I mean, it used to be live, but now it was, I think, just online this year, like
Yeah,
last year, where they give you a little taste of the stuff that's coming up. It's so they don't have to go to Comic Con. I think is what it comes down to, and
pretty much.
they can control the message better. Which I get it. It's like why Apple stopped going to Macworld. They just do their own announcements now.
Right.
So they, yeah, like Joe said, they came up with a little Flash teaser, and they got some Black Adam teaser, I guess you would call it, and a little
Yep.
footage from the next Shazam film. And
Yep.
but my personal, you know, I don't want to say favorite, but the thing I was most interested in seeing was the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson Batman stuff. So they had
Yes.
I would say a full trailer for that. And so which do you want to touch on first?
Let's hit the Batman. What did you think of it?
Here's my thing. I like Robert Pattinson. I think that he's a pretty good actor, and I like Matt Reeves as a director and a writer. I don't know what I thought about this. At first, I was like, "Oh, this looks really cool," but then I'm not. I don't know if I'm in love with Pattinson's performance in the trailer, at least, which is a stupid thing to say because it's just a trailer. And the other thing, I would love to retire the phrase "we're so much alike" when characters say that to each other. Like the bad guy says that to the
Yeah.
good guys. Like,
Yes.
okay, we get it. You're similar. So what? Stop saying that, writers.
Right.
Stop
So's
writing
everybody
that
else. I mean,
stop writing that for people to read to say. Love Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle. Amazing. She looks great, and I think that she's going to do a great job. They don't ever say the word Catwoman in the movie yet, so I'm sure she'll
Right.
end up being Catwoman at the end.
Right. Right.
I mean, the movie looks amazing, and the fight sequences look pretty good. Just I don't know what really threw me off is that one shot where he's in the jail talking to the Riddler. It's like, "What did you do?" I was like, "Oh, dude, what?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
I was like, "What was that?" And I'm Vengeance. It was pretty interesting, but that's lifted right from the comics. I don't know if that's is
Right.
that Batman Hush or I can't remember which one that is. Anyway,
think so. Yeah.
anyway, which is great. It's a great comic. Hush is great. Long Halloween, amazing. If you've never read that, you should read it definitely. Unless you don't want spoilers for the movie, because I think they take a lot from Long Halloween, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although I think Matt Reeves has said it's more from Hush. But anyway, but you know what? I liked it. I think that it's amazing how Colin, what's his face?
Colin Farrell.
Colin Farrell. Yeah, I was gonna say Colin
Yeah.
Farrell because he's like, that's Colin Farrell. Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, visually awesome. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sold, I guess is what I'm saying. And you?
I thought it was a good trailer. I'm gonna watch the movie. My
Well, duh.
I think my only thing, if I have to pick something to be disappointed about, I'm like, it just looks like every other Batman movie, and I'm waiting. I would like. That's why. So this is why I like Man of Steel, because it was a different take and it was not the same as the Superman movies that came before. But Batman has progressed in movies basically the same. I mean, this. If you told me, hey, by the way, Matt Reeves had dropped out of this movie and Christopher Nolan directed it, I'd totally believe you, because it just looks like Nolan's Batman trilogy, and I'm just like, it'd been nice to do something a little bit different.
Or Zack Snyder, even.
Or Zack Snyder, yeah, exactly. So I'm just like,
apparently it rains 24/7 in Gotham too.
right. So, and I suppose I've never been overtly a fan of the whole Dark Knight, grim and gritty Batman that started with Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns back in the 80s. And I'm like, because
How dare you?
to me, Batman's always been this like really awesome detective. He's been a combination of things, not defined by one thing. And it was never like, there was never this over drama about, is he Batman or is he Bruce Wayne? Is it, is Bruce Wayne the alter ego and stuff? It was just like, no, he's Bruce Wayne. He dresses up as Batman and goes and fights crime. I mean, why does it have to be more difficult than that? So I just, that's the only thing to me. I'm like, so this is going to be more of the same, especially like you said that, what did you do? I'm like, that could have been Christian Bale doing that. Right.
Sure.
So I'm like, well, all right. From what I understand, Reeves adds his own stuff to the story, and that's cool. But it would have been nice to not only story wise but visually have a different take on Batman. So anyway, long winded to say,
No, that's good.
it's all right. I'll obviously definitely see it, but I'm ready for. And I'm not saying it's got to be like, oh, Batman wears a blue and yellow costume now or something like. It's got to just come up with a different way instead of saying the same thing over and over again. Anyway, so
Yeah, I get that, and I think that it's not necessarily Frank Miller who sort of started that whole Dark Knight thing. I mean, obviously he wrote the Dark Knight and drew it,
yeah,
which is one of my favorite comics of all time. Thank you. But I think that you have a character who is a vigilante, right? I mean, he goes out at night and beats people up. So he's not a good guy so much as he's a conflicted sort of anti-hero. So he's not going to be all flowers and light and probably fun to be
well,
around.
no,
I mean,
and that's not really what I'm saying. But
no, I know. You were hoping for, and I feel like maybe that will come out in the movie rather than the trailer, because in the trailer,
I hope so.
Look,
yeah.
Here's a Batman movie, folks. This is what you expect from a Batman movie. So we have all that shit in here for the first trailer. Don't worry, you will not be disappointed. However, maybe on subsequent trailers, as we get more information, there'll be more to it.
Right.
I would think. But I think this one is just for the fans. It's like the hardcore DC FanDome fanboys, fangirls.
That's probably true.
Fan people. It's like, this is the Batman that you know and expect, and the one you love because you love the Christopher Nolan Batmans. Obviously, they made tons of money.
Yep.
And this is the kind of thing you like, so we're going to show it to you. And again, it rains in Gotham, and people, Anyway, you don't get a guy like Paul Dano to play Joker, or to play Riddler for no reason, and he's going to figure prominently. I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that from everything I've heard about this film, is Batman is a lot more detective type stuff too, so that's going to be good. But you're not going to see.
I'm a fan of that. That's what I want to see.
You're not going to see that in the first trailer. The first trailer is for and again, it's something at FanDome is something that people are going to like. Here's the action shit. Here's the gritty, realistic Batman kicking ass and taking names. And here's sexy Selena Kyle. And here's the Batmobile blowing shit up. And, that's the kind of shit that people want to see at FanDome. And so later, you're going to see the softer side of this, where Bruce Wayne does stuff. And you're going to have more shots of Alfred going, oh, my God, dear God. You got to stop this, Bruce. That kind of shit.
Well, that's what I'm like in every single goddamn Batman movie. It's always Alfred going, Bruce, you've got to stop this. It's going to kill you. And it's like, God, are we going to do that again?
But curiously, it never does.
Right. And I'm just like, but I'm
survives.
Like, that. See, so to give you a little idea, the reason why I liked the last two Nolan Batman movies, especially, was it was a Batman and a Bruce Wayne that was like, hey, listen, I can make the city believe in itself again and not be dependent on me. And I'd really like to find a way not to have to do this anymore, because I don't really want to. It just needs to be done. And and he wasn't like crying about it every night. He was just like, I got a plan. I got an exit plan. I got a retirement plan, and I can get out of this. And, people like that, Dent gives him hope that the city can get out of this, even though he becomes Two-Face. He's still not like deterred from the hope from this is gonna be okay. And I like that. And
he's the hero. He's the hero we need right now.
Right. And in the comics for so long, it's been just like, Bruce Wayne is the disguise, and it's like, Jesus Christ, really? Okay.
Well, I mean, they're definitely delving more into the psychology. It's like, is he insane for doing this? I mean, he's kind of be a little psychopathic. I mean, they even touch on that a little bit, although it's kind of tongue in cheek. But in The Dark Knight, it's like, so you discover that your employer is a billionaire who's out beating the pulp out of people at night with his bare hands, and you're going to blackmail this person.
Right.
That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah, but, that was pretty funny.
Good luck, Good luck with that.
Well, see, they did. I don't know. Nolan did something different, and the fact he got to do it over 3 films was great.
He did something different. But if you watch Dark Knight, which I just did, oddly enough, a couple of days ago, it's still pretty dark, especially the sequence when they're transporting the guy in the thing, and they drive by the fire truck that's on fire.
Right.
that's some pretty like, some scary, tense stuff. And a lot of that's Heath Ledger's Joker, which again we always have to talk about how extraordinary he was in that movie. But yeah, it's just that is a dark story, especially that second movie. But you're right, you're absolutely right. I feel like Bruce Wayne always was like, I need to stop doing this eventually.
Well,
I can't do this forever. And he does have an exit strategy. And whether what's his face, Robin takes over at the end of the last movie, who knows? But the point is, he got out.
Right.
And he gives his little toast to Alfred in that French bistro, whatever,
Well, if you talking about that second movie, the best part of it to me was that whole thing with the two fairies, and it's like basically Joker was pitting the citizens against each other and expecting there to be chaos, and he's like, aren't you going to do anything? And Bruce was like, no, because I know they're going to do the right thing. I believe in them. I trust them. And they did. Right. And right. But the whole thing with the Joker, like, why aren't you doing anything? He's like, I don't need to. They're going to do it. And they did. And that was the catalyst for me, for him going into the third movie, where he's like, the city is doing better and they're heading in the right direction. I don't.
Well, except for that whole thing of being taken over by Bane. Having the Court of Owls or whatever.
Sure. But
other than that, everything was peachy.
But I love that sequence in the second movie where he's like, I don't have to do anything. And it's like, wow, that was really, I thought, powerful and cool. So.
Yeah, anyway. It's sort of, in a way, we're talking about good storytelling. It kind of circumvented expectations because you expected the ferry boat with the like obvious tough guys on it to be the ones who would blow up the other one.
Right.
But he's the guy who grabbed the thing and said, "I'm going to do what you should have done in the beginning." He throws it out the window. It's like, you're stupid. We shouldn't be killing each other. It was saying so. And we're talking about stuff that's subtle. That doesn't hit you over the head, right?
No, like, exactly.
Batman and Bruce have faith in the citizens of Gotham to do the right thing, and they do the right thing. It's not like here's some kind of thing we're going to beat over your head. It's like he just does the right thing by a small gesture, by saying this is what you should have done in the first place, and that's all there is. And so, and the Joker as a sociopath can't understand that. He can't understand.
Right.
He has no faith in humanity because he's lost his humanity, which is, I think, one of the great things about Nolan's Batmans, but also just about Batman and Joker in the first place, is they are, I mean, for lack of a better phrase, two sides of a coin, right? It's like lack of humanity versus humanity, and the constant battle between those two things, which is why Batman can never kill the Joker, because he'd be destroying a part of himself. And so that's a great, but you also, people have our right to question, is that why didn't you just kill this guy? And you would have saved a lot of lives, because I can't be like him. I can't do that. I can't change to sink to that level. I don't kill people. I defend justice, even though I beat the shit out of them first,
So the other part of that too is, like, especially in present day comics with Superman and Batman being in the Justice League and being pals, it's kind of like, hey, Clark, so by the way, all these villains we have here aren't going to be rehabilitated. And we have no prisons that are going to hold them. Is there any, like, prison of, like, out on another planet, light years away, that can incarcerate these guys or rehabilitate them? And Clark would be like, let me think about that. Yeah, sure, I know a place. Let's just round them up and take them, right?
Put them in the Phantom Zone, baby.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to kill them, which, apparently the heroes can't do that, if you're really committed to improving, Earth society and helping them possibly, I'm sure out there in the universe somewhere, there's a place that is better suited for that. So, use your resources is all I'm saying,
Sure, that's absolutely true. But then, of course, if you get rid of your main antagonist, then what do you have?
Right? Oh, I know that.
There's no.
It's kind of along the lines of, oh, nobody could ever know my secret identity, because then all my loved ones would be at risk, and the villains would go after him. And I'm like, so you're on a team with Mr. Miracle from the New Gods, Batman, some of the smartest people on the planet, and aliens. I think you could probably all figure out a way to keep your loved ones safe at all times, right? So
maybe.
I'm like, But
I always thought the secret identity was to protect everybody else, but to protect themselves too. But also because it's just fun to dress up. But
yeah.
again, you got to remember that Superman's secret identity is Clark Kent, right? So.
And it's out in the world now, and everybody knows.
Not just that, because Superman is Superman all the time, and we've had this discussion many times. But Superman is always Superman. He just dresses up like Clark Kent. That's his secret identity.
Well, he's always Kal-El.
Well, whatever.
So,
yeah, right.
But yes,
so it's a great way to think about it, because his and again, we've discussed this before, but his idea, he impersonates humans. His idea of humans is like weak, bumbling fools,
Right.
Here's what humans look like to me. Duh,
They do trip in the forest all the time. So.
They do trip in the forest all the time. So I guess it's true.
Hey, speaking of Superman, or you still have more stuff to say about Batman? We can go to Superman.
Oh no, I mean I'm fine with Batman. I mean we should talk about the other FanDome stuff. I mean there was the Flash teaser, which also features Batman, strangely enough.
Yes.
Or at least a stunt person or a stand-in wearing the cowl of Michael Keaton.
Or somebody holding up the cowl.
Or someone holding up the cowl in frame, yeah. But it definitely is Tim Burton, Michael Keaton, Batman cowl, though. You can absolutely tell.
Well, and it had nice little musical cues, too.
Well, that's true, so. Yeah. That was, in case you couldn't see the cowl.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was also interested to see that in another scene, there's another cowl lying on the ground.
Yeah.
In that quick sequence. I don't know. I like the Flash. I think that regardless of your personal feelings about Ezra Miller, I don't know what his deal is sometimes. And there's been other rumors or stuff about him being a not as nice person, but we're not going to get into that. But just on the surface, I liked his performance as the Flash, as Barry Allen. I thought he did a good job in Justice League and everything. And I think that this movie will be interesting. And I like the idea that it's basically Flashpoint. And that, all these multiverse people can show up, including Michael Keaton's Batman, because who doesn't want to see Michael Keaton in the Batsuit again? I know I do. Yep. And the part where he's pulling the cover off the Batmobile, which is clearly the Batmobile, but we don't get to see it because, they got to save something for the trailer. Sure. But yeah, I'm intrigued. I'll watch it, definitely. And,
there's obviously multiple Flashes in this because Ezra Miller is playing two Flashes in one scene along with the new Supergirl. Ben Affleck
was that Supergirl, or was that what's her face, his girlfriend?
No, that's Supergirl.
Okay.
And there is Ben Affleck is in this as Batman and Bruce Wayne. So obviously the multiverse, and he goes up and sees his mom. Apparently, I think it's implied he travels back in time and sees his mom, and of course the whole Flashpoint thing is predicated on him saving his mom. Right. So.
Well, he does affect time in Justice League too, right? Towards the end, in the Snyder cut, he actually reverses time, or at least gives Superman and Wonder Woman. No, who else? I forget. Cyborg. Sorry, I've already forgotten the movie. Time to do the thing to destroy to destroy the Unity or whatever it is. It's kind of forgettable, I hate to say it, but
to destroy the Turkish delight.
To destroy the Turkish delight, yeah. So he does affect time in Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is what he can do. But that makes sense. It figures right into Flashpoint, which, if you think about it, maybe Flashpoint is also, the end of Justice League, where Batman has to make a deal with Joker, right? So
exactly. So no, I like the Flash character. I like the Flash show. I hope that somewhere in this new Flash movie they have the reverse of the scene where Ezra Miller's Barry Allen shows up in Crisis on Infinite Earths. That would be kind of fun to throw in.
It would be cool. Maybe they'll have that guy, Grant Gustin, come in as Flash too.
Yeah, see? So that would be good to have that. But I've always liked the character, and so I'm looking forward to the movie, especially... you know what? Anything that's time travel and multiverse stuff, I'm a sucker for anyway. So I'm kind of happy we're getting that in a lot of movies now.
Will they have him use the giant treadmill, though? That's the question.
See, they have to. That would be so awesome.
It's such a dumb thing that it's like, he's on a treadmill? Seriously? Okay. I don't know. I guess. Okay, so yeah, I'm definitely interested in that, and definitely interested in... I like Shazam. I thought Shazam was pretty good, and I'm interested in the sequel. Black Adam looks great because anything with The Rock in it is probably going to to be honest.
And he's not necessarily a good guy he's playing, which will be kind of interesting because
Black Adam's a villain.
Yeah, and I don't think Dwayne Johnson has really played featured in any big movie or TV show as a bad guy. I mean, he was kind of a bad guy in Star Trek Voyager, but he was like in that episode for like 5 minutes.
Right. He was a bad guy, and the time he wore a fanny pack, he was a bad guy. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, so, Black Adam is a villain, and then he becomes a good guy, right? So, but he's an antagonist for Shazam, which is why I think Shazam will be in the Black Adam movie, yes. But also Superman maybe too, allegedly. I don't know, but we'll see.
Might be, yeah. So
that was interesting. That was an interesting thing about the Shazam movie because at the end, I don't know. Did you see the Shazam movie?
Yes.
Okay. It's like Superman from the neck down.
Right, exactly. Because we couldn't get Henry
Cavill. He wasn't available that day, so
for 5 minutes. But
or maybe he had the mustache and they didn't want to do the CG.
They learned the lesson from Justice League.
We're not doing that. But I enjoyed Shazam. I thought it was interesting.
Shazam, yes.
I like Zachary Levi, even though he's I don't know, questionable political and personal taste, but that's fine.
But hey, speaking of Superman, as I said earlier, a couple pretty big things about Superman.
There's been some developments in the Superman canon.
Yes, out of FanDome, we have a new mission statement for Superman. He is now fighting for truth, justice, and a better tomorrow, which to me makes sense because they've always called him the Man of Tomorrow, so it fits in nicely with that.
Well, not only that, but the fact that he said the American way, he's not American.
Right.
I mean, he grew up in Kansas, but he's from fucking Krypton, so it'd be the Kryptonian way, bitches.
Yeah, so
exactly. Get used to it. Whatever. However, I will say this: when Christopher Reeve delivers that line in the original Superman movies, I'm like, I totally believe you.
I'm with you. Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to fight for truth, justice, the American way. She's like, man, God, you're amazing. It's like, yeah, you are amazing. So.
Yeah. So I'm glad they've updated it because Superman is for everybody, right? I mean, he's not.
I agree. He's not just for America.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing about Captain America. That's got to be a hard sell in other countries, but
right, exactly.
Anyway,
so
you can't really change his name to Captain Tomorrow or something. That wouldn't work.
Right. So the other big deal is, so in the comic books, Superman appears in his own title called Superman, and also in Action Comics. So they have a storyline where for the time being, Superman has in Action Comics has gone off with another group called the Authority into space to fight Mongol and Warworld and bring justice to a group of people in the far reaches of space. But he doesn't leave Earth undefended, so in his stead, his son, Jonathan Kent, who's now a young adult, has taken up the mantle of Superman in the Superman comic. In fact, it's now retitled Superman, Son of Kal-El. And the big development in the Superman comic is that it turns out that Jonathan Kent is bi. I think this is awesome. This is great. So they kind of started it really organically. They introduced a guy in the first issue that he ended up working a bunch with, and lo and behold, they're like, hey, you know what? We kind of like each other, so we should go out. And they're doing that, and it's really cool. The guy happens to be a reporter, so apparently the Kent boys have a thing for reporters.
And he's Asian too, right?
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So.
Some more representation for you. Yeah, look, you know what? The fact that this is causing any controversy at all, which as we should point out, absolutely it is ridiculous. It's like, so what?
Right.
The character's bisexual. So what? Why does that bother people? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand why it has to be this big news story. I mean, I do understand why, but it's like, so if it was a female reporter that he was interested in starting dating, there would not be stuff all over CNN and Fox News about it, right?
Or if it were a woman and a woman, I don't think there would be as much backlash either. Because lesbians are cool, but apparently gay relationships or bisexual relationships are not cool. So
I think it'll be great when there's a day and a time, and I don't know when that'll be, where it's like, yeah, okay,
no big deal,
right? But I'm happy to see that representation in. Here's the other thing too, is that people are like, oh, it's not really Superman, so it's not that big a deal. It's like, well, he is Superman, so get over it. But it's like, that makes him even more for everyone. Here, how even more inclusive is Superman now? And that's great. I think it's awesome. So I'm very happy by this.
Like we talked about in the pre-show, it's like people don't want their worldview to be changed. They like the fact that they see the world one way, and that's the way that is their truth, and they don't want
to have to think about it. Yeah.
Well, they don't want anything to interfere with that. They don't like the idea that things change. And also, I'm sure that this has come up. It's like, oh, why do you have to put politics into Superman, or why do you have to put they're pushing the gay,
it's life.
They're pushing the gay agenda on everybody. It's like, I mean, there's characters in Superman comics who've been gay all along. They just haven't been coming out, And it's like in your favorite TV show, I guarantee you there's at least one actor who's probably gay in that show. So just get over it. Just accept it. It's a fact of life, and it shouldn't be news. It shouldn't be anything different than anything else. I mean, unfortunately, it is, and it probably will be for a while, but it shouldn't be. And I agree with you. I wish there was a time in the future, and I feel like there will be, but there's going to have to be these kind of situations where it's just, this is what's happening, folks, and people are going to object to it, but people are going to get used to it eventually, because you can't necessarily spoon feed it. It's just got to happen, which kind of goes against what I was saying about Why the Last Man earlier. Maybe that is part of it too. Yeah. But it's not nearly as, I haven't read the comic, but I can say that I've seen all the coverage of it. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think they should, do it more. Why not? So
absolutely. Anyway. Yeah. I mean, it's life. I mean, there have been gay, lesbian, trans, bi people in society for as long as there has been society. So it's like, well, sure, you've had 80 years of this character being this one way. I think it's okay if you mix it up a little bit and be more.
Well, it's not even in the Superman comic. It's in Action Comics, which is different, right? It's not even.
No, it's in the Superman comic. Action Comics is where Superman's off in space.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And it's not, and people just like, I like the fact that it's like, well, it's not really Superman. Whatever makes you feel better, I guess is okay too.
Right.
You know what though, and by the same token, there are people who, legitimately are upset by this, and I can't say your reaction is stupid, because that's wrong too. So, I mean, it is kind of stupid, but I can't say that. So, this is how things are going to be, and like Joe just said, they've existed for thousands of years, just like everybody else. Yep. It's part of society. It's part of who we are as a people. Humans are like this. They're like, they're straight humans, gay humans, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you can find someone you like, stick with them, and they like you, it doesn't matter. Just it's hard enough to find people in the first place. So be happy.
I instead of trying to pigeonhole people in something like the people you like, love the people you love, and be happy if someone finds love in whatever form,
even a fictional character in a comic book. Okay. Like William Shatner said in that famous Saturday Night Live sketch, get over it.
Get a life.
Get a life. Yeah. Oh, we forgot to mention that Kirk went to space. Oh,
he did. He did, and he was pretty choked up about it, which is cool.
He was. I think there were some of the memes that I saw where we should all dress like Gorns or all dress like apes when he comes back.
Yes,
it's kind of funny, but not that people are going to do that. And why would you dress like apes? That's a different franchise, man. So
my favorite though is the world is not flat. I checked.
Yeah. So you know what? I mean, some people give Shatner shit because he's not a nice person all the time, which is probably true. I've only met the man twice, and he was perfectly pleasant both times. And so I don't know. It wasn't my experience with him. Obviously, George Takei in particular has beef with Shatner still.
Still does, apparently.
Does. And, Shatner was probably a dick to him because he knew he was gay. And Shatner is probably a homophobe or still could be. I don't know.
Right.
But I'm not saying George Takei is wrong. I'm saying they can have beef if they want. It's fine.
Right.
But he's still, to me, an important character. Captain Kirk is an important character in my life. And the fact that Shatner went to space was pretty cool. So I just think it's cool. So anyway, I can't ruin my childhood, man. They're killing my childhood. So
don't get me started on that. But
don't get me started. I think what we should do probably, since this is a long episode, maybe we'll just hold off on picks this week.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea.
We're already exceeding our limits of time, and I'm sure people are already like, "God, is this thing over yet?" But I like last week. I like last week where you only talked about shit for like a half hour.
Right.
But we'll, you know what, we will circle. Speaking of that, we will circle back to music at some point because I think there's more to talk about because nerds do love music.
They
And
do.
I know I do. And so we definitely talk about this some more. And Joe can talk about all the other bands that he hates. So that'll
Sure.
be fun.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, find the Flickcast at Apple Podcasts and at Spotify and at iHeartRadio and soon to come to Amazon and a Google podcast. I said Google, but I meant Google. Google is also good too if you like that kind of food.
Kegel podcast is a whole different
Kegel,
thing.
it's a whole other thing. Yes, exercise your podcast, and then Patreon.com/TheFlickcast if you'd like to support the show with some cash, which we would appreciate.
Kizash, yes.
Ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts in particular are very, very welcome, and thank you for the people who've done it already. We really appreciate that. And find Joe and I on the socials. Joe is What Joe Writes. I am Chris Yu. And, of course, at the Flickcast on all the platforms. On all platforms, baby.
Yeah.
Not TikTok yet, though. Thank you.
No, I don't think anybody wants us on TikTok.
No one wants it on TikTok. Although that could be amusing, but
Maybe.
that's well. I mean, it would have the luxury of being short, at least.
There you go.
So,
Yes.
or the added benefit, the value add of being short. Other than that, anything else, Joe?
I think we've said enough this week.
I think we've said enough. All right, cool. So for Joe Dilworth, I'm Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thanks so much for listening.